What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Dark Avenger comic book review series, the show where I like to talk about all the books I read in the previous week. This week was a short week. It was the second to last week of the month. No Independence. Very sad about that, but we got some DC and we got some Marvel. I've got my physical books. Unfortunately, the first two books will be digital. But we're doing episode 530 for the week of May 22nd, 2024. This is a bit late. We're going to chug through so we can get to May 29th. Starting off this review, we're going to talk about Batman Superman World's Finest, issue number 27. I've been enjoying it. Batmite. In the last issue, Superman, Batman, and Robin got stuck into a wall. And Robin in this issue finds a way out. And Mxyzptlk and Batmite are inducting members of the Justice League and all the other superheroes of the DC universe to fight against all these super-powered supervillains while they're trying to figure out how to get Batman and Superman back into the main dimension. The artwork in this book is amazing. The story was a lot of fun to read. It was actually the first book I read this week, which is why I'm having a bit of a hard time remembering everything. But World's Finest has been really great ever since the relaunch back about 2 or 3 years ago now. It's one of my favorite it's the only Batman Superman book, but it's one of my favorite Superman books. Huge recommendation. Definitely would recommend it 100%. Next, we got Superman issue number 14, continuing the House of Brainiac saga. This issue, Superman versus Lobo. Lobo wants to be the leader of the rest of his people. He wants to make the Lobo clan. So he has to fight Superman to prove himself. And of course, it was all a trick to get Superman weak enough to take him to Brainiac. So Lobo kind of got betrayed. Everybody got betrayed by Brainiac. We get a little information with Lex Luthor and Supergirl. Not going to spoil that, but we find out a bit about Brainiac thanks to Lex Luthor. But in the end, Superman gets captured. And now there is the betrayal, which is where this issue almost ends. However, it turns out that somebody from the side story in the last issue, Viral Docs, makes an appearance and is now fighting back against his father. Really interesting. Can't wait to see the next part. Anyway, now we go into the physical books, so you won't have to worry about any kind of graphic anymore. I'm going to start with Spectacular Spider-Man issue number 3. I was lost at first with this issue because when it opens up, it has Pete and Miles going on 2 different respective dates, and one is with Gwen, and I'm like, wait, I thought I missed something at first. I really did, until you get further on in the book and you find out that Miles and Pete are stuck in some kind of dream state where they're living out. Pete's living out being a dad, having kids with Gwen, and Miles is dreaming about dating Kamala. And then we get like a little bit of a rewind, and we find out how they ended up in the situation they're in, and it all kind of makes sense after that. I'm like, oh, I see what you did there. And now I'm wondering how the 2 of them are going to get out. That's going to be the question for the 2 Spider-Men. Excellent issue. I love this cover. I'm actually really happy I decided to stick with Spectacular Spider-Man. It's been a really fun series so far. We're going to be in Spider-Man throughout most of this Marvel because it's basically all Spider-Man. The Amazing Spider-Man issue number 50. I'm not going to talk about a lot of the side stories. There was one side story. This is I believe it's a $10 book if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is a $10 thick mama. It is a thick book. When I say thick, I'm talking we're getting close into mini trade paperback territory at this point, to which I don't even know why they didn't bother just making it a mini trade paperback. But anyway, this was kind of already spoiled. We all knew that at some point Pete was going to become the Spider Goblin. I mean, the page has been spoiled even on I believe it's been spoiled on social media as well. So turns out Green Goblin has gone back to his old ways, and we find out that that's because back when Pete took over the sins of the Goblin, well, turns out Norman took him back, and we get this big fight between Pete and Green Goblin, and it ends with, it turns out Green Goblin, when Pete was possessed by the sins, ended up doing, he did one altercation that he couldn't remember. And yeah, it turns out that it was to put the Green Goblin now in Spider-Man's head. I'm kind of 50-50. I'm interested in seeing where this is going to go, but I mean, we've already had Doc Ock Spider-Man, and obviously this is just going to be a mini series, so we'll see. But we also do find out that the spear is there, the one that housed all the sins, and it turns out Craven's son is looking at it. Going to be some interesting stuff. There was a really nice Terry Dodson Black Cat side story, some other really nice side stories, and then there is one that's leading into what's going to be coming next, possibly. We shall see. Well, then there's one that is leading into it, and that's with the living brain possibly having a way to save Pete for the 100th time. I'm one of those people that's kind of on the fence when it comes to Amazing Spider-Man. Haven't been exactly crazy about this run, but I will say that I'm definitely interested in where this story is going. So anyway, with that being said, Amazing Spider-Man issue number 50. I leave it up to you all, wherever you want to go with it. Next, we've got Spider-Gwen, the Ghost Spider. This was, it left me with a lot more questions than answered. We don't know how yet, but Gwen is in the 616 universe. She's not allowed to be Spider-Gwen, even though she does go public multiple times in this issue, and she gets warned by the TVA. If you've watched the Loki miniseries, you know who the TVA are. They're keeping Gwen in this universe temporarily because, you know, she's under some type of protection. We don't know why yet. She even asks about her father and doesn't get an answer. She's starting to have little flashbacks from the Gwen of the 616 universe for some reason. And it happens while they're on the bridge. Craven makes a guest appearance in this issue. And it looks like Gwen's going to die. But of course, she's saved once again by the man from the TVA. But what's going to happen next? And also, no one's supposed to know she's there. But because she goes public at the beginning of the issue, all of the Spider people, all the Spider family is like, Gwen? What is she doing here? And yeah. I'm interested in seeing where this goes again. It's more of a, I don't understand. I don't know. I wish we could have gotten a little bit more, maybe how she ended up in the 616 before she was in the 616. For me personally, I would have liked to have known. I feel like we're in the middle of the story, and now we're going to go back and find out why. So I am interested in seeing how she ended up here, why she ended up here, and why she's in this type of protection. But we shall see. And now, finally, we have Blood Hunt issue number 2. This is my book of the week. I'm going to just say this. When it comes to the Red Band the Red Band version, everything that happens here, a couple of extra dialogue pages, and, of course, more gory, more graphic. So we're going to talk about Blood Hunt issue number 2. I loved this issue. This was fun. This series is really leaving me on edge. I mean, they've already spoiled the ending. So, I mean, Miles turning has been spoiled, and it's been spoiled even further because Miles is going to be part of a mini series that's going on post, Blood Hunt. So Blade has the upper hand, and his Covenant has the upper hand with what's going on Earth. And now Blade wants to get his daughter. And I love how the Covenant attacks Blade's daughter. And there's a little bit of a connection to the stuff that was going on in Doctor Strange and certain other miniseries like the one with Dracula. But the Avengers show up. And the tides in this instance, in this issue, have sort of turned. And I won't say who, but there are certain Blood Covenant members that aren't going to be coming back for the rest of this miniseries, possibly. And I liked it. I liked it a lot. One thing I will say, though, that I kind of, when it comes to the Red Band version, we get to see the clone of Dracula's face. Unfortunately, we don't get to see that here. Again, it doesn't kill it doesn't take away anything from the book, But I would have liked to have had that one part of this issue in here where we got to see the clone of Dracula's face. Was it a bit gory? Yes. Could they have toned it down so that I could have kept the T plus? Yes. So that's the only kind of downside, and why I believe the red band version is going to get a bit higher for me once again, because we get a little bit more in this. And once again, a lot of the people that are going to be reading this are beyond the 16 or 17. Is it 16 or 17 plus? It is T. It just says T. So beyond this, let's say 16 plus. So I feel like this version, even though it's a bit gorier and obviously it's a bit more exaggerated with certain parts, because I don't believe that in this book it shows that Doctor Strange's body is almost cut completely in half. I don't believe that that's actually, because in this issue it's not the case. So certain parts are exaggerated, but then there are certain parts that are shown more, and I feel like those should also be in the story. Again, do you have to have this? No. If you're 18 plus, would I recommend it though? Yes, but definitely grab this one too, because I feel like what happens here is going to carry on after this miniseries, whereas what's happening here, yeah, it's more gory, but it's going to be forgotten about, because I don't think Doctor Strange is going to stay cut in half. That's all I'm going to say. But anyway, with that, this is a short review. We're going to be catching up to the 29th now in the next episode. Look forward to videos now that things are back on track. Look forward to newer videos. If you haven't watched the Dark Avenger Live birthday special, I highly recommend you do, because there are a couple of updates in there for what's going on the channel. Anyway, thank you all so much for being here for this short review. As always, links in the description below for all my social media and where else you can find me. Till next time, everybody, take care. Keep reading, keep collecting, and I will see all of you really soon in the next video.